Could gold truly be evidence that an advanced, unknown, and lost civilization preceded us? While we cannot consider it the smoking gun of an ancient civilization, it certainly represents a highly valuable clue. Combined with extraordinary discoveries, historical documents, and mysterious traditions, it paves the way for a hypothesis that deserves thorough investigation. To fully grasp the significance of this hypothesis, we must embark on a journey into the most remote past we can trace. A fascinating journey that challenges our conventional view of gold and its meaning. Together, we will uncover how this precious metal, revered by all civilizations, might hold a story capable of overturning everything we thought we knew about our history. Well then, before we set off on this incredible journey, as always, we invite you to subscribe to the channel because your support is essential to our work. Gold, since the dawn of civilization, has exerted an extraordinary allure on cultures worldwide. The first documented evidence of its use dates back approximately 6,000 years, with artifacts from Mesopotamia and Egypt, two of the earliest great civilizations in human history. However, what makes gold so intriguing from a historical and anthropological perspective is not just its beauty, but the fact that, unlike many other precious materials, gold has never had a truly practical utility for everyday survival or purposes. Unlike materials such as iron or bronze, which were used to craft tools, weapons, and work implements, gold was not suited for these applications. It is too soft to be effectively used in construction or weapon manufacturing, and lacked any particular qualities that favored its practical use in productive or military contexts. These factors make its history even more mysterious. Why has a material with no apparent functional utility been so venerated, accumulated, and pervasively used?
You shall make a cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide.
One of the most plausible explanations used to account for all this is that the allure of gold lies primarily in its inherently symbolic nature and its rarity. Gold, with its brilliance and its color reminiscent of sunlight, has always represented concepts such as divinity, immortality, and power. In many ancient cultures, the sun was regarded as a deity or the emblem of a higher power, and gold, with its eternal shine and resistance to oxidation, was associated with these ideals.
I am the god of gold, the heart of the god Ra, who shines in the sky and reigns forever. My face is gold, and my eyes are those of the sun god.
This quotation from the Egyptian Book of the Dead highlights a symbolic connection between gold and the god Ra. The Egyptians believed that gold had a direct link to eternal life, and used it prominently in royal tombs to ensure a safe passage for the deceased into the afterlife. The famous sarcophagus of Tutankhamun, for instance, is coated in solid gold, bearing witness to the mystical and spiritual value attributed to this precious metal. Similarly, in Mesopotamia, gold was used primarily for religious and prestigious purposes. In Mesopotamian ziggurats and temples, gold symbolized the connection between the ruler and the gods, and its presence in artifacts and ornaments indicated the absolute power of kings and priests. On the other side of the world, pre-Columbian civilizations such as the Inca, Maya, and Aztecs, though completely separate from the Old World, also regarded gold as sacred. Once again, golden objects were not used in daily life, but were reserved for religious ceremonies and to represent the divine power of rulers. Legends such as that of El Dorado, the hidden city of gold, reflect the significance of gold for these cultures, and the obsession of European conquerors in their attempts to seize these immense riches. The lust for gold was so intense that when the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the Americas, they plundered entire cities and destroyed millennia-old cultures to claim this metal. Bernal Díaz del Castillo, one of the Spanish conquistadors who accompanied Hernán Cortés, provides detailed accounts of the quantities of gold found in Tenochtitlan and its use in temples.
In the houses of the gods, there were vast quantities of gold shining everywhere, covering statues, altars, and sacred ornaments. The Aztecs revered gold as the sweat of the sun.
Another explanation for the symbolic value attributed to gold may lie in its unique physical properties. Gold does not corrode or deteriorate. It retains its brilliance and purity, even after thousands of years. This characteristic made it the ideal symbol of eternity, purity, and immortality. Concepts fundamental to many of the earliest human civilizations. Well, If these are the most plausible and well-known explanations for why gold became the precious metal we all recognize today, a closer analysis raises important questions. Let's take things step by step. Thanks to the findings and historical records, we know that Egypt possessed a significant amount of gold. But this raises a spontaneous question. Where did all this gold come from? Historical sources provide partial answers, mentioning mining expeditions organized by various pharaohs, particularly in the Nubian regions, modern-day Sudan, where large gold deposits were located. The Egyptians had a well-organized system to extract gold and transport it to cities, where it was smelted and crafted by skilled artisans. Despite this, the scale of Egypt's gold reserves, considering both the amount discovered and what has likely been lost over millennia, continues to raise many questions. While it is true that the ancient Egyptians built several gold mines in Nubia, it is also true that these mines cannot fully account for the vast amounts of gold they had. We must remember that gold, though widespread, is still a rare metal. The real challenge lies in extracting it from rock, which is neither simple nor straightforward and requires significant technological expertise. Although we know the Egyptians developed advanced architectural and engineering techniques, it is unclear how they managed to exploit deep mines without the modern technologies we have today. Gold mining techniques in ancient Egypt involved manual digging and crushing gold-bearing rocks. In some cases, miners worked under extremely harsh conditions, descending deep into the mountains of the eastern desert or along the Nile. Despite the sacrifices and exploitation of many laborers, large-scale underground mining would have required highly sophisticated technical knowledge to ensure, for instance, ventilation, water drainage, and the extraction of precious metals from the ore. So how did the Egyptians, with their technology, manage to overcome these challenges? Should we hypothesize that they had more advanced techniques than typically attributed to them? If we accept this, we must also consider the possibility that other ancient peoples possessed similar technological capabilities, as other great civilizations of antiquity also had access to significant quantities of gold, such as the Sumerians, Babylonians, the ancient Indian cultures, and pre-Columbian societies. Could it be that all this gold circulating in ancient times was the result of work carried out in archaic mines by these civilizations? The suspicion arises that, despite these people's dedication to gold extraction, their technical capabilities were still insufficient to explain the presence of such large quantities of gold in such remote eras. So, where did all this gold come from? To attempt an answer to this question, we must look even further back in time, exploring a period and place for which we have no precise historical records, but have uncovered incredible artifacts. We are speaking of the African continent and its extraordinary mines. Africa is one of the richest regions in the world in terms of gold reserves. Today, many of the world's major gold deposits are located in Africa, particularly in countries like South Africa, Ghana, Mali, Zimbabwe, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The gold mines of South Africa, for example, are among the most productive on the planet. It is estimated that 50% of all gold ever mined comes from the Witwatersrand region. It is therefore reasonable to wonder whether mines were also active in the past, and if they might be responsible for the vast quantities of gold present in ancient times. The hypothesis that African mines were exploited by ancient populations who traded with civilizations in Europe, the Middle East, and India is becoming increasingly plausible as new discoveries are made each year. For instance, between the 11th and 15th centuries, an ancient kingdom flourished in southern Africa, located in present-day Zimbabwe, known as Great Zimbabwe. We know very little about this ancient people. Today, only the ruins of a once great city remain, a city that was already abandoned when Portuguese explorers arrived in the region. Historians believe that Great Zimbabwe was the central city of a vast empire, known as the Kingdom of Monomotapa, which emerged around the 7th century in the region surrounding Lake Kyle, between Matabeleland and Manicaland. The empire eventually came to control much of modern-day Zimbabwe and Mozambique. The discovery of artifacts such as fragments of Chinese and Persian ceramics, Arab coins, and other foreign objects suggests that Great Zimbabwe was an important hub in a vast trade network that extended as far as the Far East. Additionally, the presence of nearby mines suggests that the local population primarily traded in gold. If this discovery pushes the exploitation of African gold mines back in time, what two independent researchers claim to have uncovered in South Africa takes us even further to prehistoric times, specifically 200,000 years ago. Michael Tellinger and geologist Johan Heine spent years studying the Mpumalanga region of South Africa, a place rich with ancient circular temples and mining sites that could potentially rewrite human history. According to their research, these structures and mines, primarily located in the Barberton area, represent one of the most enigmatic discoveries of our time. Tellinger and Heine argue that these mines were not exploited by known civilizations, but by a lost civilization that existed more than 200,000 years ago. But how did they arrive at such a remote dating? Tellinger dates the Mpumalanga mines using a combination of geological and archaeological studies conducted by Heine. The rocks of the Barberton Greenstone Belt, which date back approximately 3.5 billion years, contain some of the oldest traces of mining activity. By analyzing the geological composition and characteristics of the rocks surrounding the mines, the two researchers hypothesized that these mines were exploited during incredibly ancient times, predating any known human civilization. The deterioration of the structures, the level of erosion, and the arrangement of the stone circles surrounding the mines suggest that these sites underwent slow, natural geological processes over a time frame far greater than that of historically documented civilizations. This level of wear and erosion led the researchers to propose a date of around 200,000 years ago for the beginning of mining activity in this area. To arrive at this dating, the researchers employed the patina method, as radiocarbon dating cannot be used for rocks. But what exactly does this method involve? This technique is based on the observation and analysis of the surface layer that forms on rocks and objects exposed to the environment over long periods. Patina is a thin coating that accumulates due to chemical, physical, or biological processes, such as oxidation, reactions with the atmosphere, and the growth of microorganisms. This layer can provide clues about the age of the object or structure, as patina forms very slowly over time. The patina can take on different colors, such as brown, black, or green, depending on the minerals involved and the environmental conditions. Generally, the thicker the layer, the longer the object has been exposed to the environment. However, the rate of patina formation is influenced by many factors and cannot be used as a precise chronological tool. To complement this initial dating, the researchers applied another method, which can be described as astronomical, thanks to the discovery of a series of megalithic sites near the mines. Around the mines, thousands of stone circles have been discovered, which appear to be directly connected to mining activities. These structures, visible even in satellite images, cover vast areas and display surprising geometric precision. According to Tellinger, the stone circles were not merely dwellings or ritual structures, but part of a complex technological system used for gold extraction and processing. The estimated age of the stone circles is also hypothesized to be around 200,000 years. This estimate, in addition to using the patina method, relies on another element, the so-called Adam's calendar. In 2003, Johan Heine was flying over the Mpumalanga region when he noticed unusual rock formations on the ground. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that these stones appeared to be deliberately arranged rather than naturally formed, creating a large circle. While studying the site to understand its function and origin, Heine and Tellinger observed that some stones were arranged with remarkable precision, aligning with cardinal points and specific astronomical events. This led them to conclude that the site was a sort of prehistoric calendar. By calculating the position of the stars, they determined that the site could date back approximately 200,000 years. Dating the Mpumalanga site and its mines to around 200,000 years ago is, without a doubt, a groundbreaking hypothesis. It is well established that Homo sapiens evolved on Earth between 200,000 and 300,000 years ago. To think that these prehistoric populations were not only capable of erecting megalithic structures, but also of mining for gold challenges all our current understanding. It contradicts what we have assumed about humanity's technological evolution. This raises a fundamental question. Why would prehistoric humans mine for gold? And even more importantly, with what technology could they have accomplished such a monumental task? Tellinger's theory becomes even more intriguing as he connects this to the famous legend of the Anunnaki, an extraterrestrial race which, according to unconventional interpretations of Sumerian texts, came to Earth thousands of years ago to mine gold. According to Tellinger, the Anunnaki utilized these mines to extract vast quantities of gold to transport to Nibiru, their home planet, to resolve atmospheric problems. The proposed dating of 200,000 years aligns with the time when the Anunnaki are said to have arrived on Earth and begun using humans as a labor force for gold extraction. The Mpumalanga mines could, therefore, be tangible evidence of this ancient mining activity. And the stone circles might represent the remnants of advanced technology used to facilitate gold extraction. Tellinger's hypothesis is undoubtedly extraordinary, linking the South African discovery to theories proposed by Zechariah Sitchin, who interpreted ancient Sumerian texts as evidence of external intervention in the origins of our species. However, Tellinger's theory is not accepted by the scientific community, as it relies on speculative interpretations of ancient texts and unconventional archaeological evidence. Even if Tellinger's hypothesis is dismissed, the mystery of who created these mines and why remains unresolved. There is ongoing debate about the actual antiquity of these sites. According to official reconstructions, the mines are much more recent, dating back about 2,000 years, later than the ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilizations. While this might challenge Tellinger's theories, it does not fully address the enigma of the vast amounts of gold present in even earlier epochs. Today, gold is used in the manufacture of integrated circuits, connectors, and microprocessors for computers, smartphones, and other advanced electronic devices. Thin gold foils and gold-plated wires are employed to ensure clean, interference-free transmission of data and electrical signals, particularly in high-precision devices. Thus, unlike in the past, gold is now valued for its physical properties, which could not have been understood or utilized in ancient times, unless there had been a civilization advanced enough to exploit these properties. If we were to momentarily entertain the idea that such an ancient civilization existed, could the gold present in antiquity, which we struggle to explain, simply be what remains of its use by a more advanced society? Gold that may have been mined, melted down, and repurposed over millennia? If we look at the documented history we know, the practice of reusing precious or valuable materials, such as gold or other resources, is not new. Numerous historical records show how successive civilizations looted, dismantled, or repurposed architectural and decorative elements from ancient monuments to create new works or for more practical needs. A notable example is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Originally, this pyramid was covered with high-quality white limestone blocks sourced from the Tura quarries near Cairo. These limestone blocks had a smooth, polished surface that reflected sunlight, giving the pyramid a brilliant, dazzling appearance, so much so that it earned the nickname Mountain of Light.
The pyramids were built with enormous polished stone blocks that reflected the sunlight like a mirror. Each side shone with a dazzling light as if they were made of gold.
Over the centuries, these casing stones were removed and repurposed in numerous construction projects during the Islamic era, particularly during the Mamluk period. The Mamluks, who ruled Egypt, used large quantities of limestone taken from the pyramids to build mosques, palaces, and other structures in Cairo. The expanding city required vast amounts of building materials, and the pyramids provided an easily accessible source. This practice of recycling was not limited to architecture. Many gold artifacts, such as coins and ancient jewelry, were often melted down and repurposed over the centuries. For example, during the Roman Empire and later in the Middle Ages, gold from treasures and war spoils was frequently melted to mint new coins or create new prestige items. This cycle of recovery and reuse has been a constant in human history and is well documented. Therefore, if an ancient civilization had used gold, it is highly likely that over the millennia, this gold would have been looted and repurposed. Speaking of an ancient and advanced civilization as we know, Plato describes the existence of Atlantis in his works, a sophisticated civilization that allegedly dominated the world in a remote era. Plato provides many details about this civilization, and from his writings, we learn that precious metals, including gold, were widely used.
In their constructions, they primarily used a type of white, black, and red stone, and they covered the walls of the citadel with molten brass, while the outer enclosure was coated in tin, and the inner one, which surrounded the citadel, was covered in gleaming gold.
Could this be an explanation for why large quantities of gold were already present in ancient times, even in the absence of technologies capable of extracting and processing it? Of course, we don't have a definitive answer, but the existence of ancient mines that are difficult to date, mines that required significant technological expertise, and the mysterious presence of large amounts of gold in remote eras and among civilizations far apart from one another make this a hypothesis worth exploring. At this point, we're truly curious to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments what you think, and if you enjoyed the video and want to support our work while staying updated with our new content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next story.